In today's video, I'm going to discuss where I see event photography going in 2022, meaning what I think the trends are going to be, will there be a lot of events, etc. I'm going to talk about my own experience so far in 2022 as well as last year, what I've heard from other photographers, but also I will discuss the data that I have. So my own experience, first of all, has been that I think it's a mix of repression, like people have been pent up and wanting to throw events for a while now, and we've been living with COVID for quite a bit now. We know how to live with it, and so toward the end of last year, it really began to boom. Things really opened up in March. That's when I didn't work almost at all until March of 2021, and then I was working like crazy. I think it did slow down at some point, maybe August-ish, but by November, or actually September, November, October, all those months were massive. October was actually my best month in my entire career. Some of this may be because I've been doing this for a while. I now consider myself in my later career, not my early career or mid-career. And a lot of stuff I've done has really finally begun to pay off. So I think I'm personally doing really well, but from what I've talked to, from what I've heard talking to other photographers, everyone was crazy busy in October. I expected things to slow down. So let's talk about the seasonality of event photography, and then we'll compare that to what seems to be the COVID season that we're now dealing with. Event photography always has a lot of going on in the summer. Now, I should say that what type of event photographer you are will determine when you're working more. I, at this point, mostly shoot corporate and political events. So if there's midterms coming up, I expect a lot more political events than I would otherwise. However, I do shoot them throughout the year. Corporate events throughout the year, but especially in October, November, maybe right the early December, but unlikely. And the reason I suspect is that people, during the summer, you're competing with people's travel plans. Fall's perfect. It's quieter, not much happening, right up until the holidays. So people get a lot of events in, I think, in the fall for that reason. Most of my career, I had a very, very good October and November, and I'd probably shoot a couple of jobs early December, and then by mid-December it would fall off. As I've gotten busier, that has improved, but it still did generally follow that kind of pattern. However, last year was insane. I actually worked all the way up until the new year. I had a job on New Year's Eve, but it did get canceled because of COVID, but not because of shutdowns or anything. Literally, his entire staff, the guy that wanted to hire me, had COVID, and so he couldn't throw it. I then expected things to really slow down in January, but then January came along and I've been working all through it. We're now in February and I'm getting job requests most days and writing proposals for them. A lot of them in February and also in March. So it does not seem to have slowed down. It has not slowed down for me personally. But I, of course, as I mentioned, my personal experience might not be consistent with the majority of people. So let's talk about actual data. So to the best of my knowledge, I am the only really committed YouTube channel to event photography. If there is another event photography channel and that is really what they're committed to, I'd love to know about it. It would be really cool to check out. But as far as I know, there aren't really any other ones. Often it's like a one-off kind of video someone makes. New people show up on YouTube and make a video or two, and then they realize how hard it is and they disappear. Already, this is not a brag because it's not a big space on YouTube, event photography, but even like 2 years ago, I was already using a third-party analyzer. I was already the #1 channel. The reason I'm telling you this is because of that, I'm getting the most traffic when it comes to event photography. One of my videos is #1 when you search event photography, another one is #2. The vast majority of people that watch those videos aren't my subscribers. Of course, they probably have watched it, but they're usually people that booked their first event photography job Maybe they're wedding photographers, maybe they're portrait photographers, maybe they've never done this professionally, but now they've booked a pro job and they don't know how to do it, and so they search event photography on YouTube and they find my video. That is like my #1 video gets like 20% of my traffic. Probably my top 3 gets like 50% of my traffic. And so what happens is, because people are finding my channel through booking their first job and trying to figure out how to do it, my numbers do go up and down depending on how much people are working. And I can share it with you, I'll put it on the screen, but even though overall my channel always grows, you can see it grows a lot more in the fall, it then quietly goes down, kind of like slowly but kind of quickly, and then goes right back up come March. Of course how much I'm posting will have an influence, but again, just overall, my channel growth and my revenue from it, of course, is really in sync with how much people are booking. And so people seem to be doing pretty well so far, but it does seem to be following the pattern. So that's that. The last part I want to talk about is if I think you should be really concerned if you're thinking about getting into event photography, or you're worried about your event photography business you have, like if you should be concerned about Omicron and just COVID in general. And this is not going to be political, I don't want it to be. But I personally think that people are getting to the point where they just want to carry on. And I also think the policies in place are eventually going to, like what's going on in Europe and other parts of the world, they're saying, okay, we're done. I think Australia literally is calling their policy "let it rip" or something. Like they're just like, after some of the most severe lockdowns, they're like, we're done, we're letting Omicron, rip through us, and we're just gonna live with it and have more targeted solutions. And I think that's where we're gonna be at in America and most of the world. I don't know what's gonna happen, of course. Clearly this is going to be seasonal, and there will probably be seasonal COVID come winter again. That goes without saying. What we don't know is how bad it will be. But here's what I wanted to say about all of that. Even if it's pretty bad, I do think what we're gonna have is a COVID season that is really in alignment with event photography seasons. And so what that means is that maybe we'll have a little bit less work, but when COVID is really bad, most of us aren't working anyway. And so ultimately it's gonna average out to be okay, I think. All right, thank you guys for watching. This is a long video. We'll see how it does. If you want event photography help from me, more like catered to you type of help, check out my Patreon page. If you've been watching my videos for a while and you still have not subscribed, please subscribe. It's not a big channel and it would help me quite a bit. Thank you all.